Hello and welcome to another presentation. In this presentation I'm going to try to sort out the myth or the truth behind a birth certificate. Many people have asked me a number of questions over email and they want to know what the truth is. So I'm going to provide a short video which explains how the birth certificate works. The birth certificate, in my opinion, is a scam, but it's one that we can use to our benefit. The birth certificate is not evidence of the identity and may be used as personal identification. Same goes with the citizenship documents, which may be used for personal identification. If I was to find somebody's birth certificate, I could then therefore claim that individual was me. So how can we discern whether or not the birth certificate is identifying me or somebody else? This gets into identity theft. But the problem is that when we use our birth certificate to apply for things, such as a driver's license, firearm acquisition certificate, pilot's license, credit cards, mortgages, bank loans, we're identifying as that corporation. We're identifying as that individual. And this is where we run into a problem. The question should be, is the birth certificate evidence of the identity of the man or woman presenting it or not? And as I've just pointed out, it can't really identify you, and you've been using it as false identification. What it does identify is a trust that was set up at your birth, and the government makes themselves, they're the grantor settler, they set it up, and then they make themselves out to be the beneficiary. And they make you out to be the trustee. And this is the problem. The trustee is the responsible party in a trust to settle the account. That's why when you get a traffic ticket or a parking ticket or a ULEZ ticket or a fine or anything like that, they want you to settle the debt, which is incorrect. But anyway, that's what they do. I've been told it clearly states right on the face of the New Zealand birth certificate, warning, this certificate is not evidence of the identity of the person presenting it. So you can be presenting it, but it's not identifying you. Years ago, I had a letter from the Ontario government, it might have been the federal government, that stated that the birth certificate is not to be used as personal identification. And it's quite easy to see why. There's no photograph on it, and it's not really identifying you. If we think about it logically, the birth certificate was issued at your birth. You had no knowledge of it. You didn't sign any contract to apply for it. It was done at the hospital. Or maybe it was registered after your birth, a couple weeks, months, years later. Keeping in mind the government gets all its authority from legislation, or there is no authority, so you want to know, or you want them to show you the authority or the rule of law, regulation, code, or statute that states the birth certificate is evidence of the identification of the man or woman presenting it. Show me the authority where it states the government registers people. And in fact, the government doesn't register people when you have a birth. It registers an event. Now, a number of years ago, I was in the Ontario Provincial Court for some reason, I forget why, and there was a lady there who had a problem regarding driving or driver's license or license plates or something. And I asked her for her identification, her driver's license. At first she was reluctant to give it to me, but then she gave it to me. And she said, look at this. She says, my identification, and she was definitely female, identifies me as male. And she said, do you think they would correct that? I said, they can't correct it because that admits the government made a mistake. At the time of your birth, they inadvertently wrote you down as male, and you're having them change history, even though there was a mistake. And she said, well, pardon my English, but it pisses me off. And so I said, apply for a new birth certificate and ask them to correct it. Now, if we think about this logically, or a little bit outside the box, your birth was probably 9 months or less prior to you actually being delivered at the hospital, right? You were conceived 9 months prior, or maybe slightly less than that. But anyway, your birth certificate is evidence of an event to which a certificate of live birth document is created. Many people have asked me, well, how do I prove that I am, a live birth? Well, you can use the certificate of live birth document and it's a true certified copy of an extract, so you don't even have to get it certified, and you would register that along with a letter to the Vital Statistics Office, or it's the Department of Commerce for the U.S. people, which kind of gives you a clue as to what your birth certificate really is, right? Regulates commerce. You would register a letter in an affidavit form or a registered letter to the Vital Statistics Office and the Attorney General and the Receiver General and the Attorney General federally, acknowledging that you're alive and well and that you are now acting in full legal capacity, accepting, the benefit of the trust which was set up at your birth. Because right now the government's administering it because you haven't claimed it. The one thing people need to understand is the only reason you're in hot water is because you've identified yourself in ignorance to the person named on the birth certificate and applied for things such as a driver's permit, a loan, firearms acquisition certificate, anything like that. When you apply for it, you're identifying yourself as that individual, when in actual fact, that identification is evidence of a trust which was created at your birth. Because as I stated earlier, you didn't apply for the darn thing, your parents did. Further, this is also why you're considered a Canadian or US or British or Australian or African citizen. A citizen is something the government can control, and we can get more into that later. When you agree to be a citizen of anything, you agree that the jurisdiction of the government is applicable to you. The truth is, you don't have to be the subject of the person named on the birth certificate. You can be basically an alien. That's what they regulate people that are not registered people within a certain jurisdiction. And this gets fairly complicated, and it's far more than I'm going to explain here today. But I want people to understand that the birth certificate is evidence of a trust. It's not your personal identification card. If you have any other topics you would like me to cover, please send me an email with the topic. And to be added to my mailing list, you can also send an email. Just simply request, add me to the email list. Now, I want to do a number of seminars across the United Kingdom and across Canada to help people further understand this a lot better than I can do in a 10 or 15 minute video. If you're interested in such an event, please send an email, and let's organize something within the next 30 days. I do not share your email address, and if you want my email contact list, forget it. I'm not providing it. Anyway, I hope you found this information useful, and I look forward to bringing you additional information as requested. Thank you, and have a great day.